Hey everybody, welcome back to my series of videos on advanced mindfulness and how the brain works and how to think. Last time we worked on the most detrimental types of thoughts. Those are negative, internal, and emotional. That's what we called stage 1 of thinking. And so we needed to know how your thinking was affected with the events that you've been through, okay? And again, very specifically, how it affected what you thought of yourself in an emotional negative way. Those are the most detrimental types of thoughts, because those thoughts lead to emotions of depression, anxiety, helplessness, right? So then the last video I had you make a list, or I had you think about a list of your worst events that you've been through in life and how it affected your thinking in that negative way. So if you have this list, that would be somewhere and include thoughts like hopeless, helpless, certainly one of the biggest of all is worthless. Where he said how unimportant is another good one, misunderstood, rejected, confused and depressed, as we said, are also emotions that can result from that type of thinking. So let's get into how to combat some of these thoughts. We have them. So, and this is where we're going to add a little bit of the ninth factor over here that we talked about, time. This is very important in this because we can start to think a certain way, and the brain can get fooled into thinking this is the way we are going to think for the rest of our lives or the way we should think for the rest of our lives. So this is a good way to fight it. So the first one is to understand that when you went through this trauma, if it was childhood trauma, you had an incomplete brain, okay? You had an immature brain. And you have to realize that, and you have to understand that if something happened to you when you were 12, those thoughts developed when you were 12. It's not a great idea to have the 12-year-old now running a 30-year-old's life. And this is what happens. We talk about when we go through our trigger or something familiar, the brain will take all this information from this event and bring it forward. It's trying to help you. So it brings this information forward and said, is any of this useful? Well, some of it might be, and again, this is why we have to be mindful, but usually the majority of that is not helpful to the 30-year-old and having all this flood of 12-year-old thinking. So realize, number one, that your brain was immature if you were a child, and your brain might be immature anyways, even if you're a little bit older, because it can get stuck in a way of thinking. So again, we're trying to analyze it. But certainly if you were younger, your brain wasn't mature. So understand that, and it couldn't understand some concepts, and so it defaulted into certain branches of thinking because it was easy. An 8-year-old isn't going to analyze, oh, that guy was grooming me, that's why this happened. An 8-year-old's going to go straight here and blame themselves. So understand that that's what you did when you were 8. We don't want to be doing that anymore. Number two, a good way to attack some of these thinking, or some of this thinking, is to understand what your brain was doing at the time, and that is it was trying to protect you. And those thoughts that you had at the time could have been extremely valid. Don't get me wrong, negative thinking serves a purpose. It may have kept you safe at the time, but we want to look at that as now. Now, is it protecting me anymore? Are these thoughts doing that? And again, typically, I was scared of water, I almost drowned when I was 8, I don't want to get near water. Now all of a sudden I'm 38, should I be afraid of water anymore? No, I have the skills to keep myself alive, right? But some people are very anxious, and this is where phobias come from. Where an adult is afraid of something that they shouldn't be afraid of, because it's old thinking. Also understand, number 3 could be that, and again, this is the one that's certainly true of even us today, that we don't know everything. So the thought that we're having now, or the thought that we had then, doesn't mean you knew everything about the universe and that is the correct way to think. Sometimes we default to easy ways of thinking. Remember, especially when we're younger, 8, 10, it's hard to blame somebody else. Your brain doesn't have that sort of frame of reference, so it will just kind of default. And remember, it's the easiest for the brain, because if your brain thinks you suck, then it's like, okay, then we need to protect ourselves because we're going to suck at relationships, we're going to suck at math, we're going to suck at school, we're going to suck at all these things. So this is an ultimate way to protect yourself. Instead of the 8-year-old blaming it on them and saying, wow, yeah, that guy was grooming me, so I really don't have any responsibility in this. That's not how 8-year-olds think. Okay, now, number 4, we go back to this idea of our proof, right? We had this 10-year-old girl, we were going to bring her in here, and she thinks she sucks, and there's no way in hell we thought we were going to tell her that that's the correct way to think, all right? So, the 4th way to fight these negative thoughts is you're being a hypocrite. If we have this actual proof that we shouldn't be thinking this way in their lives, and they're really not anything but detrimental, you can't have them, right? So we just have to kind of understand this as truth, just like we understand 2 + 2 is 4, that there are certain ways of thinking that are helpful, and there's certain ways of thinking that are just detrimental. Fifth way that we can look at this and start to attack it is, are they helpful? Are these thoughts helpful? Again, they might have been, but are they helping you now? Is this flood of negative thinking making your life better? Is it protecting you? And usually the answer, people can say no. And again, maybe I work with a certain population, but I'm in a suburb of Denver, okay? This is probably not unlike a suburb of many cities around the world, or certainly around the United States. Most people live in a safe society. We don't need to be on guard as much as we are told we need to be on guard. Especially emotionally. Practically, maybe, but emotionally, no way. No one can kill you emotionally. Remember, we can only kill ourselves emotionally. Practically, someone could kill you, but emotionally, I can only kill myself. So let's control that area of our brain and not let other people affect that and make us think certain ways. And the last way to think about these things is, again, just a simple quantity matter. There's value in negative thinking. I don't want to strip negative thinking away from you, but look at how much you're doing it. Straight accounting. If you look at a situation and can say, wow, I'm 80% negative about that, or even generally, there's a problem there. You're out of balance. The life we live in the 21st century in the suburbs of America shouldn't require that much negative thinking to keep us safe. So take a look at that. Next time we're going to take a step into stage 2, and because we're creating this void, we need to fill it with something, okay? And that will be the antithesis of the negative thinking, right? So it's the exact opposite of, and we're going to be working on positive internal emotional thoughts and what these are. And this is actually very interesting because when I talk to people about this, they really struggle a lot because we're not taught this, and we're going to learn it now. So thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.